Hi everyone. In this lecture, I'm going to introduce you to Bash. It's worth spending some time playing around in Bash and becoming comfortable with it, because this will allow you to get used to thinking about how the computer accepts commands. Our first step is to open up a Bash terminal. If you're on Windows, you'll be using either Git Bash or the Windows Subsystem Linux. I'm using the latter, but the instructions will be the same. If you are on Mac or Linux, you will be using Bash or Z Shell. If you choose to use Z Shell, the commands will basically be the same, but you might have to search for how to do things on Google from time to time. I don't suspect you'll have to do that much. Once you open the Bash terminal, you'll find that you see a black or white window with a bit of text and then a $sign. This is the prompt. The $sign is a quick way to know that you're using Bash. If you're in a Python terminal, the prompt will be 3 greater than symbols. Another thing to notice is that there will be something that looks a bit like an email address. You will see your username, followed by the @ symbol, followed by another name. The first name is your username, user1 in my case. The second name is the host name or your computer name. It is read username @ host. So I am user1 at desktop blah 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 blah. Yours will certainly be different. Next, you'll see a colon and then a little tilde or the little squiggly line. The tilde signifies your home directory. So the information that you get in the prompt is the username, the host, the directory you're currently in, and then finally a $sign signifying bash. So let's start by looking at where we're at. I type pwd into the terminal and I hit enter. The terminal returns some information, specifically home/user1. This means that my terminal is currently working in a directory called user1, which is in a directory called home, which is in the root directory of my machine. Yours might be different, but when the terminal is in a particular directory, that means that all the commands issued will be relative to this directory. So if I create a new directory or file, it will be created in this directory unless I specify otherwise. If I list out the contents of the directory, it will be this directory unless I specify otherwise. Let's go ahead and create a directory. I'm going to create one called test. There are a few rules about naming when you're using bash. First, it should be something pretty memorable and logical that is not the same as anything in the same directory. So I could have many project directories as long as they are not siblings within the same directory. Second, my name shouldn't have spaces in it. Graphical user interfaces allow you to use spaces, but just get out of that habit now. If I created a directory called my test with a space, bash would create two directories, one called my and a second called test. If our file or directory name will be more than one word, we use camel case, where we capitalize the first letter, underscores, or hyphens between our words. So you can see when I list out the content of my home directory, now test exists. I will now change directory into that one and create an empty file called empty.txt with the touch command. A couple of cool tricks. First, I can link commands by sending the output of one command to another command. For example, I'll use echo and grep together. I type echo. My first name is Dylan. And then I pipe, using the single line, that output into the grep command, searching for name. You'll see it has highlighted the search string. Great news. The one I find particularly useful for developing is the command to write to a file. For instance, I will often want to create a file with a bit of text in it. To do this, I simply have to type echo some text and then write the and use the greater than symbol to write into a file. Let's say called sum.txt. There are two ways that I can use the greater than symbol. One greater than symbol signifies create the file and write the text to it. If the file already exists, it will erase everything in the file or truncate it and then replace it with new content. Two greater than symbols signifies append the content to the end of the target file. If the target file does not exist, it will create the file then. In the next video, you will see the way we use this in Python to create our requirements.txt file, but that is for the next video. The last thing I want to talk about here is that frequently commands will have options, which are accessed by passing flag arguments to those commands. For example, to get the help file for most programs, use the H flag, as you see here with Git. It is worth looking into these flags as you learn new commands because they frequently will be required or will make the commands more powerful. There are lots of tricks in Bash, and I suggest you spend some time playing around. You can do some damage when you use delete and remove commands, especially with the F flag. However, as long as you have a sense of what the command will do, you'll be fine. So spend some time playing around with Bash, creating directories, files, writing to files, deleting files, and so on. It'll make much of our work easier as we go forward in this series.